Hello, my name is Jan Dash, and I am an attorney and licensed registered agent here in Nevis. And I'm here today to talk to you about how you can become a licensed registered agent in Nevis. The name of my law firm is Dash and Associates, and it's comprised of myself. I'm an attorney in St. Kitts Nevis. I'm also an attorney in New York and the British Virgin Islands. And my partner is Kaylee Perez, and she's an attorney in Colombia. So we're going to talk about Nevis, our financial services sector, registered agents, and the job of a registered agent, the application, and the costs. So this is a map of Nevis and a map of the Caribbean. As you can see from the map on the right, Nevis is located pretty much in the center of the Caribbean, and we're about 250 miles southeast of San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we're part of our country is called St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Kitts is the larger of the two islands, and St. Kitts is about the closest point is 2 miles away from Nevis to the north. Nevis is part of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, most commonly known as St. Kitts and Nevis. Uh, we received our independence from the UK in 1984, and under our Constitution, St. Kitts Nevis has a prime minister. Nevis is allowed to have its own executive and legislative branch, and we have our own premier and our own House of Assembly, and our executive and legislative branch is allowed to pass laws for the peace and good government of Nevis, which has enabled us to establish our own financial services sector. We also use the Eastern Caribbean dollar, which is shared with territories and countries throughout the region, and it's been pegged at a rate of 2.70 Eastern Caribbean dollars to one US dollar since 1976. So since 1974, we've grown as a international financial services sector. We originally started with simply a corporations law, but our sector has now grown and we have a companies law, a foundations law, a law which allows for reinsurance and captive insurance companies, international banks. That means these banks can deal in all currencies with the exception of the Eastern Caribbean dollar, which is the monetary unit we use here, a trust law, and by the time of the posting of this video, this law hasn't been passed as yet, or sorry, enacted as yet, but we also have a limited partnerships law, and I'm proud to say that I was one of the persons who helped draft this law. So all of the entities I mentioned in the previous slide, including a trust, which is not an entity, needs to have a registered agent. And the registered agent is responsible for the establishment and registration of this entity, the renewal, payment of annual fees on its anniversary. It also maintains the registered office and receives service of process in any litigation which is brought against the entity. Registered agents can either be a company which has been established for the purpose of acting as a registered agent. As you can see, there are 45 registered agents currently licensed as of the posting of this video, and the majority are companies which have been incorporated to act as registered agents. Registered agents are licensed under the Service Providers Ordinance, which is recently enacted. Previously, registered agents were licensed under the individual ordinances, and there are 4 separate classes for licenses of registered agents. Class 1, Roman numeral 1, for all entities for trusts and insurance companies. 2 for trusts, and that can be restricted or unrestricted. So you can have a certain number of trusts or an unlimited number of trusts. Insurance companies, and director and shareholder. Class 4 should say director slash manager, shareholder slash member, but basically you have to be licensed to be the manager of an entity or the owner, or act as the nominee shareholder or nominee director of an entity. Up until recently, companies and corporations were not taxed. Now they are eligible for tax, but they will only be taxed if they have what's known as a permanent establishment in here in Nevis. Other jurisdictions have what's known as substance. We have permanent establishment. That means that if the director or manager is physically present in Nevis and makes business decisions about the entity while they're physically present in Nevis, the entity, the company corporation will be taxed. This wouldn't be a problem for somebody who is using a Nevis licensee as a subsidiary of a company which is abroad, because you can act as director for these Nevis companies or corporations, but the person or entity which is acting as the director cannot obviously be in Nevis or sync its Nevis. So in order to be licensed, you need to submit an application, and all of the directors, shareholders, and managers, upper level managers, must complete a personal questionnaire. These people are known as control persons, and these control persons must have their banks also complete a separate questionnaire, which is added to the application. All licensees must have a compliance officer, which is a person who's responsible for internal policies with regards to anti-money laundering and control of the finance of terrorism, AML, CFT as it's commonly known. And if that compliance officer is not physically present here in Nevis, then the licensee must retain the services of a local reporting officer. The application is required to obtain copies of identity documents, usually the passports, um, proof of address, degrees, references, professional licenses, resumes for all of the control persons. You're also required to provide any kind of internal documents that you're going to use for staff training, your policy and procedures manual, any documents you're going to use for record keeping, your suspicious transaction report, your politically exposed persons report, any documents that you use to manage risk, manage ongoing risk. You're required to provide 3 years worth of financial statements for on behalf of the entity that's going to apply, um, an organizational flow chart to show how the Nevis entity is going to fit in with the external entity, and how the lines of reporting are going to flow, and an undertaking to fund the share capital of the Nevis licensee. The essential piece of the application is usually the business plan, and the business plan is going to have to contain information about your clients, where you plan to get your clients from, what type of people you're going to engage with regards to professional intermediaries to help you get these clients. What kind of relationships are you going to have with these professional intermediaries? Your marketing strategies. Do you plan to publish? Do you plan to speak at conferences? How are you going to market your Nevis licensee? Anticipated volume of business is a big one, and that's a 3 year projection. I always recommend that you do a 5 year projection. How much business are you planning on bringing to Nevis over the next 3 to 5 years? Where are you going to get your funds from in order to start your Nevis licensee? And how are you going to provide for any potential shortfall in the event that you don't meet your targeted goals with regards to anticipated business. Your physical presence here in Nevis, again, you are required to have a compliance officer or reporting officer, and you're also, if you're going to hire some kind of local staff or you're going to engage with any kind of person locally, that needs to be that needs to be included in the application. Data management, how are you going to protect your client's data? Staff training, how are you going to comply with AML, CFT, anti-money laundering, control of the finance of terrorism, and any general risk management policies that you're going to have with regards to your Nevis licensee. So upon the uh, review of the application, uh, the financial services will make a determination if the control persons, that's the directors, shareholders, and management, are fit and proper persons, and if they make that determination, a license will be issued. Upon the issuance of a license, you're supposed to start business within 3 months, but that's not a hard and fast rule. Generally, there may be some kind of hiccups, but if there are, you're required to inform financial services that, we thought we can get it business started within 4 months. We're going to need a little bit extra time because of unforeseen circumstances. A new requirement is the online registration system, which is pretty much the way that things have gone here in terms of registering entities. So you must register for the online registration system. So if the licensee is not a local lawyer or law firm, which the majority are not, uh, a company, a local company, will have to be incorporated to act as the registered agent. So you are setting up this licensee in order to act as the registered agent for uh, companies, corporations, trust foundations, and the like. But you, as a corporate licensee, also needs to have your own registered agent in the form of a local lawyer. Any non-petition divisions who are going to act as directors and shareholders of the corporate licensee are going to have to obtain permission to hold their positions, and that's in the form of a alien landholding license. It's not for the purpose of buying land or holding land. For the purpose of acting as a director or shareholder of the corporate licensee. And if any non-nationals are going to be physically present and working in St. Kitts Nevis, they're going to need to obtain a work permit. So the costs, the cost for these are costs of financial services. The cost for the license is going to be $700. There's also a cost for based on the class of license that you're applying for. Additional fees, which refers to any kind of license that's going to be restricted. If it's going to be restricted and you want to add more to your restrictions, there's a cost for that. Due diligence. Due diligence refers to the directors and shareholders because financial services needs to do an investigation to determine if these people are fit and proper persons. Once approval is obtained, there's a fee for the approval of director and the approval of shareholder. And again, you need a compliance officer or a reporting officer, and there's a payment for the approval of that person. Establishment, again, if you're a corporate licensee, um, you need to apply for the license to act as a registered agent first from financial services. Then you need to go and incorporate your local corporation. Uh, Generally, some people want to ensure that they have the name that the name that they want to have is available when the license is approved. So they will reserve the name, and you have to reserve the name in 6 months, 6 month intervals. There's a cost to incorporate the corporation, and again, we mentioned the alien land holding license for the director and shareholder. It's not to own land, it's to hold those positions. Renewal, again, it's based on the class of licensee. It can be $1,000 to $6,000. Um, the renewal of the compliance officer, reporting officer, and then there's a renewal for the online registration depending on the number of users that you have. The rest are just reports, an internal compliance report, which is submitted by the licensee. Sometimes they require an independent compliance report, which is going to be done by a local accountant or an accountant. A compliance plan for the upcoming year, how you plan to educate your staff or educate anybody working with you with regards to the AML CFT requirements of Nevis. Um, if you're a corporate licensee, you're required to submit audited financial statements uh, at the end of your fiscal year. I think you have 3 months to get it done. If you're a lawyer or a law firm, you just have to submit a balance sheet and profit and loss statement. Again, the corporate licensee has to, since it's a corporation, it has to submit an annual return, and there are taxes for the corporate licensee, also taxes for the lawyer or law firm. The corporate licensee has to pay tax of 33%, but it's been knocked down recently to 25%. and exemptions can be granted. A colleague of mine has been in business for 10 years, and she's never paid corporate income tax because she's applied for uh, an exemption, and they've been granted for 2 5-year periods. Lawyers and law firms pay unincorporated business tax at a much lower rate, 4%, but it's been knocked down since COVID to 2%. So again, my name is Jan Dash. I'm an attorney here in Nevis. I also have a trust company. My firm is myself and my business partner. I'm an attorney in New York and the British Virgin Islands, as well as here. And my business partner is not an attorney here, but she's an attorney. Her name is Kaylee Perez. She's an attorney in Colombia, and she speaks Spanish very well. I speak Spanish somewhat well, and we can help you if you're interested in becoming a licensed registered agent here in Nevis. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again. Bye bye.